Hey guys, I'm here with Sierra Wells and Shannon Peters. They're the hosts of the podcast Brainstorming, the podcast. They're two professional actresses in the United States area. They're two peas in a podcast, and they're huge fans of Disney. I can't tell you how happy I am to be talking to you.
I mean, since we recorded with you about a month or so ago, we've just been counting down the days till we could speak with you on mic again.
They had me on their podcast to talk about my album, The Happiest Place.
And we begged him to be on his. I think that's how it went.
That's basically why we're here.
And that's why they're here. I'm going to ask you guys some questions today. Is that okay with you?
Yeah.
Yeah.
What's the first ride you go on when you go to Disneyland?
It depends on if we were being fancy and got a park hopper.
Okay.
Because if we did, we would send my brother and my dad over to California Adventure to get a fast pass for the roller coaster. And my mom and I would go into the park, and then we would all meet at like Pirates. Pirates is usually the first one.
I think we usually like veer off to the left and hit Indiana Jones first, spend some time in that world. And I feel like we usually do if we're doing the park hopper, we do the river rafting ride while it's still like warm out, so you're not like in wet clothes while it's cold. And then to take a little break, we also really like soaring over California.
What was your last time at Disneyland like?
So it's been a while, but I went with some friends. The Main Street Electrical Parade, they had brought it back temporarily, and we took the time to go watch it at night. And it was the coolest thing because I always loved the album, like listening to the music from it. And I had never seen it in person except like on YouTube or something. It was really cool. Yeah.
That's rad. I know I've only seen the old VHS, which your album like fully reminded me of that specific VHS. Like starting up those like techno sounds and that caterpillar, like snail. It was like, a snail. Yeah. Yeah. Really, really special. So I don't think I've been since high school. And we used to go, I took American Sign Language, but they would go every year for Deaf Day at Disney. So we would go, and it was like predominantly, so it was like still a practice, you're still practicing being like fluent in sign language, but you're like surrounded by deaf folks. And that was like a really unique experience. My grandpa was an Imagineer. So he worked for Disney in like the 60s and 70s. So growing up, I went all the time because we got in free, which was really rad.
I would love to hear more about your grandpa.
His name was Pete Peters, and he worked for Disney as an Imagineer in like the 60s, I think through like the 80s. I think he was there for quite a while. He helped build Small World and Pirates and Haunted Mansion. And his like, he was a woodworker and a carpenter. And his like main piece that he built was in Haunted Mansion. You know, the automated door knocker? That like when you're first coming in, that was like his project from start to finish. So he like created that. So cool. Like that was always very special. So whenever you go to Haunted Mansion, that was a Pete Peters original. That was like his whole thing. So yeah, he's pretty rad.
Is there any sort of feeling that comes up when you pass by that part of Haunted Mansion and see the knocker, knowing that your family was involved in making that happen?
Yeah, I mean, it definitely, since we're all artists, it's like that collaborative effort of like, no, that was one person's idea and he saw that idea to fruition, but it took hundreds of thousands of people to create the whole entire ride. But to be able to have like a tangible memory and like you can actually see his creativity and it lives on, that is really, really special to me.
What's your favorite memory at Disneyland?
I was on the dance team in high school, and we went to nationals across the street at the Anaheim Convention Center. Sunday night, we're supposed to drive back, but my dad had said, I'm going to drive down and we'll do our own thing. You and I can drive back together. For some reason, we had annual passes, which was a big deal. And my dad, he goes, let's stop at Disneyland. We're right across the street. It was like 8:00 at night, but why not? We can. And it was just the two of us. We went in and we hit our favorite rides. We hit Indiana Jones and Big Thunder Mountain.
And Big Thunder.
But then we were like, all right, let's go do Space Mountain, that's like my favorite ride. And we're walking across the park to go to Space Mountain. and it starts pouring rain. And everybody starts like clearing out, of course. But my dad and I went and got chimichangas, and I got a chimichanga, he got a turkey leg, and we like split them and just walked over to Space Mountain and stood in line. And we went on it like twice. And because everyone left because it was pouring rain, but we just didn't care. And we did that and we're like, all right, let's go home. I will never forget that. It was the most magical thing and such a special moment between just my dad and I, which I haven't had at Disneyland. Usually it's like the whole family, which is awesome. But to share that special moment with just him, I'll never forget. Yeah.
Oh, that's real special.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And Shannon, what's your favorite memory at Disneyland?
Mine is kind of like Disneyland adjacent, because I feel like a big part, since we were like 4 or 5 hours from Disney. So if we went, it was like, you know, a whole weekend thing. It wasn't like a day trip or anything. But a big part of like that experience, what for me as a kid was like the hotel and going to the hotel pool. Like that all felt like Disney to me. And there was one time where I feel like we splurged on the hotel. And I remember like this really cool, like indoor pool that transitioned to an outdoor pool. And that was super rad. And it was a lot of like, okay, so we'll do like a half day at Disney. We'll go have some pool time, have dinner, and then we'll go back and do like a nighttime Disney thing. My brother had like tripped the fire alarm or something because he had taken a shower and like the steam or whatever like tripped the fire alarm. And so someone came up, he was so accommodating, was like, I'm so sorry this has interrupted your like experience here at the hotel. We'll send up like a complimentary breakfast the next morning. And like as kids, that's like magic of Disney, like you're so stoked. They brought up the like frosted flakes in the box, like individual boxes, but that was like a very distinct memory for me. And then I remember us like swimming and seeing the guy who had helped us out. And he kind of reminds me of Cobra Bubbles from Lilo and Stitch, you know, the like social worker guy. And he like nodded to us like, yep, hope you enjoyed your cereal. Like it was like such a weird memory.
Do you guys think that nostalgia is a good thing or a bad thing?
I think it could be either or.
Yeah.
But mostly a good thing. I think so. I think especially when it comes to like Disney.
We're both Cancers, and like having those like nostalgic touchstones are really important for us. I feel
very emotional.
Yeah.
Okay.
Big time. Yeah, I think like you said, it could be either. Can think it can be a really positive thing, but if you're living in the past too much, for anything, that's never productive. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like certain relationships and your view of them, like you can have a nostalgia of them
and it can be completely skewed,
yes, for what it actually was. Yeah,
but at the same time we all have different, you know, perceptions and points of view of things. And I think for the most part, if it's something that brought you joy, as long as it wasn't hurting anybody else, right, it's nice to think back and to remember.
That's a good one. What do you think it is about Disneyland that makes it important enough for people to revolve their lives around it?
I mean, I think that they do a really great job of immediately pulling you into this world where everything is perfect, right? Like the music, the smells, but also more than that, it is that nostalgia. It is the memories that I have there. And you have these characters who come out who you've seen on screen as a kid. And I think there are so many elements that combined make the perfect formula for the happiness.
Yeah, it's like this very articulately crafted escapism. And it has, so like you said, there's so many opportunities for folks of all ages. And it's those like moments like you talked about, you know, it's those waiting in line moments that really make the trip. Like it's not always about the specific, you have the Splash Mountain picture or what have you, but it's the fact that it's that like instigating moment of you being like, my dad said, let's go, that excitement, or even my like Frosted Flakes moment. It's those like that pure, it's just so magnetic. And it's like a wildly universal feeling. Yeah.
Also for our generation too, like I remember those Disneyland or Disney World, I guess, even though I never went, commercials with the kids packing their bags and being like, all right, only 2 weeks left. You know what I mean? I remember them.
Those are big.
I watched them and would go, oh my gosh, I want to go to Disneyland.
Yeah.
It was built.
Sean and I would just look at the map. We would just like, that was a big thing for us. Just looking at the brochure, like what a Jesus. Or even we'd look at Disney World because, you know, we're on the West Coast and we'd be like, oh, Epcot, like what a wild thing. Like that was just like, I think, big part of it's the planning. At least that was for our family. It's like that anticipation. They do a really great job of capturing anticipation, I feel like. And then that payoff is so big.
Guys, thank you so much for being here. Where can my followers find you?
My personal Instagram is Sierra Kathleen.
My personal is at Liz Lemon Bars.
And our podcast Instagram is at Brainstorming the Podcast. You could listen to our podcast anywhere you find or listen to pods. So Spotify, Apple, anywhere else.
Good.
You can listen back to Cameron's episode. That's up for you as well.
That's true. I am featured on an episode. I would not steer you wrong. This podcast is the podcast of the year. This podcast of theirs will change your life. And
that's a big compliment.
That is.
And your brain. Oh. Guys, it's been a doggone good time talking to you both. And I'll see you real soon.
Bye.
Bye.